Hello, CyHawkThoughts fans. As if we haven't been saying it enough, basketball season is here.
All right.
Welcome to the basketball preview, about 8 games in.
Yeah.
But better late than never.
Well, back in the old days, it'd be like a game in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it seems like they're playing right away. October 15th hits, and then they're playing games right after.
Which is fine with me, because then we got basketball during the week and weekends, and we got football on the weekends. I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's a fun 3 weeks.
Absolutely.
So, as you see here, we have a guest, JT Nutt, and he is going to be giving us some insight on the UNI basketball season. Very, very big fanatic of the UNI Panthers, and has a lot of good information to share. So, if you're a UNI fan, by all means, JT will be informing you on what's going on. Before we get into the Missouri Valley, or the Big Ten, the Big 12, Iowa State, let's do a little Missouri Valley talk. Chuck, we're going to let you start with the Drake Bulldogs.
Excellent. And actually, before I go to Drake, I'm going to call a quick audible here, or a 20-second timeout.
By all means.
All the above. Hey, we're in the state of Iowa. Let's first give some kudos to Grinnell College basketball. Let's,
Taylor?
138 points.
Yep.
Jack Taylor.
Yeah.
Pretty darn cool.
It's got to be pretty cool when you're called on ESPN Sports Center, and then you have people like LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and the Mamba.
Yeah, Dick Vitale, everyone.
Yeah, everyone's talking about you. That's got to be pretty special. So that young man's probably having the time of his life right now.
I went to Grinnell College the game after that against William Penn. William Penn at the time undefeated, a great team out of the state of Iowa in the NAIA, coached by a guy from state of Iowa, John Henry. They're going to be pretty tough this year, and they showed it against Grinnell, but it's fun to watch. A great game. Both those teams have a lot to look forward to in their respective divisions, conferences.
So, tell us who won.
Oh, well, William Penn won. They won, I think, by about 11 or 12. It was stayed around 8 points the whole time. That system is...
What's the final score?
Wild.
What was the final
It was
score?
about 2 weeks ago. I don't know.
Did it get in the 130s?
It was like 130, maybe 131 to 116. Might have been 15 at the end.
Okay,
So,
very nice. How did Taylor do?
21 points.
Okay, so
They had him locked up.
yeah.
But they've got another guy, I believe his last name is Wrench, who scored 86, 87 last year. And yeah, they'll just let him shoot. And that's the cool thing with the system. If one guy's bottled up, there's other guys running their spot, and they can all chuck it.
Nice.
Chuck it. That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
No
From the
pun
cheap
intended.
seats.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's got to just be a blast for the college, for him. I loved hearing about it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was just a blast.
Faith Baptist Bible College, it's right by CyHawkThoughts studio.
Yes, it is, right down the
maybe
street.
they'll do a home and home next year. We can do a road trip and go a couple blocks down and
Yep.
watch Grinnell College throw up some points.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I felt the one part of the story I felt bad is the Faith Baptist Bible College guy that scored like 84.
Yeah.
They got no pub whatsoever for scoring 84 points. It's like, oh, this guy. But that was kind of funny. Shall we segue to Drake then?
Yeah, staying in the state of Iowa, in the corridor here. Drake men's basketball. New season, new team. They're coming off, they got to play in a lesser tournament at the end of the year last year. That's always a cool thing. It was cool for, I think, all of state of Iowa to see, the different teams making the little tournaments. Iowa State made the big tournament, so that's always even cooler, and that's what all the teams aspire to. But yeah, if you can keep playing, kind of like we said, the bowl games, it does reward that season.
Yep.
And gives you something, extra practices, things to go for, and that was big for Drake. They got Seth Bandice coming back this year. He's rounding into stride. Jordan Clark looks like he's going to be pretty good, and of course Ben Simons, he's a shooter, and he's going to be probably 16 to 18 points a game, and he's going to lead the crew.
Yeah, I like Simons.
Yeah,
he's just a heck of a player.
He's a good kid. He's a good shooter, and he's solid. And Drake, I see them around a 6-7 seed this year. They're gonna, just like last year, they're gonna scare some teams. They upset Wichita State last year. That was an awesome game. And I see, one or two upsets. But then again, I see other teams sneaking up on them, like a Bradley team, the team just matches up with them and gets them, maybe on the road in the Valley is tough. And I see that. I see them kind of middle of the pack. 6-7 team, probably having to wind up against like a UNI in the first round of the tournament to see what happens.
So CBE or whatever.
Yeah, and I think again they'll hit one of those lesser tournaments, and I think that's a win for Drake basketball, and that's a big deal.
And they got a big game tonight, so if they can knock off the Gales of St. Mary's, that'll be a big win.
And Deladova, that'll be.
And I'm sure that Knapp Center's going crazy right now.
I would hope so, and that would be good because they're playing UNI here coming up, and give them a little scouting report for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, JT, speaking of UNI, please do inform us on the Panthers this year.
Started off the season, they had probably the premier non-con pre-conference tournament in Battle for Atlantis, where Duke was there, Duke was there, Missouri was there, Stanford, VCU, who's now kind of the darling mid-major team, and rightly so, they're very, very good. Then you also had, who do we face? Louisville as well, then UNI, and Minnesota. And they knew one team was going to have to go 0-3. UNI was certainly the low man on the totem pole first. They did go 0-3. But they had a tough loss to Louisville, 2-point loss, where, they were down big early to start that game. But it was, if you watch any of the game, it was one of the ugliest basketball games you'll ever see. Lots of turnovers on both sides. But it's one of those where UNI fans are a little upset because Nate Buss secures a rebound and then gets hacked, and it's a jump ball, which is mysteriously the exact same thing that happened against Louisville, against Illinois State as well. But you can't cry over spilled milk like that. Came back uninspired against Stanford and was never really much in the game, except for when Nate Buss was on the floor. Then we take him out. They lose the game. And then number 19, Memphis, who had their back up against the ropes and couldn't really back up against I should say. Trying to keep their ranking and all that, had lost 2 in a row already. So we were up big against them and just blew the lead, and then ended up 0-3. That being said, still got a lot of good non-conference. You still got St. Mary's coming up. You get North Colorado right now, who they're just absolutely smoking. They're up by 16 points last I saw. Tough win against Toledo. Good one last weekend against UW-Milwaukee, who's now just Milwaukee. Big, inspiring game. Probably the best game they played all year. Then after that, you've got George Mason, who's not bad. You got Iowa, who you always want to play a Big Ten team. And then you got UNLV, who could be in the top 15 rankings by the time they play them here in a couple of weeks. So
tough team.
Yeah, really good.
We know it.
But then from there you go on to the Missouri Valley, and hopefully it won't be like last year where you have 6 teams tied for third place again. Missouri Valley really needs to get more 2 or 3 into the big dance. They're going to have 2 for sure. Creighton and Wichita State, unless they absolutely fall on their face in the conference, they'll go. Wichita State, one of 20 teams undefeated right now, including Wyoming, who just knocked off Illinois State last night. Creighton's right there. We know what they have. We won't bring up Doug McDermott. I think that's been discussed enough by UNI fans. Don't need to get into more. But Wichita State lost a lot last year with Stutz and all that, but they came back really, really strong. Illinois State's just a step below them. And then for third or fourth, I get UNI competing with them. It depends on a given night. Illinois State's crazy talented. They lost their coach, Yankovic. Great coach who went to SMU to follow Larry Brown. He'll kind of take that over after Larry Brown. So, Larry Brown comes calling. Can't really say no to that guy. And their new young coach has done a very good job. A couple tough losses for them. But UNI, just their non-con alone has just been unbelievable. Would have been like to see them at least get 1 or 2 in Atlantis. Would have really helped the conference out. But Missouri Valley is it's going to be a tough league, and they've had a lot of tough losses early on. So,
well, and my thoughts on it is, and we'll go to the Big Ten really quick and Michigan State. Has there ever been a really easy non-conference Michigan State schedule that you can remember in recent history?
No, that's how they do it.
And what happens tournament time?
Usually they're pretty tough, and a lot of times they make the Final Four.
Okay.
Yeah, so
they show resilience when it comes to the tournament, and a lot of that has to do with the kind of bumps and bruises they took in the non-conference.
Yeah, they've been in that spot.
Yep.
Win or lose, yeah.
So you're right. tough non-conference, I think it's only going to help.
Yeah.
I really do.
And that's another thing here. I'm talking about the Valley. That's something that the powers that be, that will, in the front office there in St. Louis and Missouri Valley said, in 2006 we had 4 teams make the NCAA tournament. Since then we had 2 once and 1 the rest of the time. This needs to change because when you go to the tournament, the way Missouri Valley works is all the conference, all the monies you get for that win gets divided up between the other schools in the Valley. So you get 4 teams in, 2 win a game and 2 make a Sweet 16. It's divided equally. Everyone gets some money, and we all know UNI, along with some other Valley schools, are really hurting for money right now. Kind of like any school in Illinois right now is in dire straits for money. So anything you can do to help out your program would certainly help. But I mean, yeah, just UNI's got to take care of business in the conference this year. And
who would you say in UNI is the one guy, maybe newcomer of the year, or guy that's going to step up, maybe already has started to impress?
You see, that's the thing is, with UNI, it's always been a team thing. Earlier on in the year, Deion Mitchell, we got him out of Pflugerville, Texas. Only recruit we've ever really gotten out of Texas. Good point guard. First kid we've ever had, as long as I can remember, that can break the press. Which if you saw UNI versus Kansas, got UNI versus UNLV in the tournament a couple years ago, or against any team that presses, they absolutely fall apart. But this kid can break the press with his dribbling. Problem was last year he got going just a little bit too fast and he dribbled it off his foot or get in too deep and not able to pass it or shoot it. This year he's really, really worked on that. Had some troubles against you in the battle for Atlantis, but going against the number 2 team in the nation, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best team you see all year. But he's really stepped up. And another kid that they need to try to find minutes for is Nate Buss, who's coming off the bench, who is shooting .694 from the field right now. He can shoot the three-pointer. He can get inside. And last week, he got the ball inside, drove baseline, dunked it, got fouled. And after that, it was a close game back and forth. He tied up the game, went ahead on the he missed a free throw. After that, they went on like a 13-2 run or something like that and put the game out of reach, and it's far and away the best stretch I've seen from the school all year. So,
you recently brought up the fact, about the tournament getting more than just a couple teams in. The need of funds, for a lot of the Missouri Valley teams.
yeah.
It seemed like not more than 5 years ago, you guys were on that cusp of annually having a 5 or 6, league, bid. And what happened? I mean, I know that maybe potentially the quality went down, or 2 of the teams just kind of took off from the others, and then all of a sudden it was just about the 2 teams that were doing well, whether that was Creighton and UNI, or Wichita State Creighton, or Wichita State UNI. But there was a point where we were seeing 4 or 5 MVC schools in there, and it kind of fell by the wayside all of a sudden.
What would you say? It's also because the big schools poach the coaches?
It could be that, too. I don't know if necessarily that. Mark Turgeon's gone on to Texas A&M, did an all-right job, but they replaced him with a guy, Greg Marshall, who is the most hated coach in the Valley now that Jim Les is gone, and nobody misses him. But the thing was, the schools that made it, Southern Illinois was always a perennial team. A household name, I won't recognize that in Creighton. Southern Illinois, as much as I liked Lowry, great guy, just wasn't a good coach, and they really fell off. And the problem was they didn't have the non-con schedule for the RPI and the strength of schedule to get you in, because that really matters when you're mid-major going against a lower bidded high major team. You got to have some marquee win or some marquee game. So that's where Doug Elgin says you guys got to schedule tougher again, or we'll penalize you in certain ways. And they've gone about and did that, especially this year. I mean, you can look at the non-con: Michigan, Louisville more than once, Tennessee, Iowa State. I mean, you just look at their non-con: Notre Dame, UCLA, Butler, VCU. I mean, look at all these premier teams that they're going against just to get their name out there. It's really been, and what happened last year especially was all the teams beat up on themselves. Yeah. You can't have 6 third-place teams.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say this, but the Southern Illinois of the world, the Missouri States and all that, they need to know their role and not upset teams as much. It's kind of one of those things where if UNI does better in conference and they're right up there with Creighton, Wichita State, 3 might have gotten in last year, or 2 for sure. So I mean, you got to do well in your non-con, which Wichita State's doing an unbelievable job right now, undefeated, and what they've gone up against has been unbelievable. I think you got tasted a little bit about Iowa.
Took out Iowa.
I mean, just come in, they have no fear.